Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the PHDJ podcast with your boy, Joe Bunn, and your boy,
What's
Mike
going on, Joe?
Walter.
That was a different intro.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't think ladies and gentlemen you've started with before.
Oh, God. Who is
got
it
me
that hates,
smiling?
Who,
I like
who
it.
hates ladies and gentlemen? I forgot.
Yeah, Randy Bartlett just clicked off already. You
geez.
should have said at this time, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. I
Yeah.
could have used every crutch in the book.
That's right.
And I should have used them all.
Yep.
Anyway, guys, welcome back to another episode.
Without further ado, that's another good.
I love that one.
Yes.
I think I throw that out there every once in a while.
Probably.
So without further ado, if you're listening, this will be coming out on the 13th of September. Literally probably the day the hurricane hits North Carolina. So everybody here, Mike, is fully getting prepared, if not already prepared.
Yeah, man, I texted you the other day, and I know some, I've got some good friends down there. Fox Feltman was a PHDJ grad, and Jamie Bodie, who is, I'm sure you've met Jamie. He's a think tanker. Couple people I know who live along the Carolina shores and are kind of impacted by this, and I send everybody, and I'm sure all the listeners do too, send everybody your positive mojo, and hope we hope they get through this.
Well, we would greatly appreciate that. It's going to be here.
Sure.
You know, I'm inland, probably 2.5 hours from the beach. It'll be just tons and tons of rain. So we're just more worried about flooding than anything here. But anyway, so everybody listening, stay safe. Everybody that's not in the path, just say a prayer, cross your fingers, whatever you do out there for people that are going to be affected, because it ain't going to be good.
Amen.
Ain't going to be good. All right. So, Mike, you told me earlier this morning, you said, text me when you get in, I'm recording my book.
I have been sitting at this table. I'm in my basement right now. And by the way, thank you to you, because when we started this podcast, I bought this little setup and this. So, I mean, sound quality wise, I'm really happy with it.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Let's thank the people that made this as well. You can see it on the screen if you're watching.
Yeah. I mean, the microphone is incredible. This EV Electro Voice microphone is pretty badass. So I have been sitting at this seat at this table in my basement for probably about 30 hours over the last 3 weeks as I record this thing. And you just asked me before we went on what I'm up to, and I told you I'm just reading Woodstock. So you tell me. Let's see how well Joe knows his music history. What month? I'm not even going to ask you for the specific date, but what month am I in if I am reading about the Woodstock concert?
You know what, man? I could only give you a window. I think it was late 60s.
Well, sure, but I'm not.
But I know. And it's in New York,
69 to be exact.
Right?
Yes, it's upstate New York.
So it had to be between May and like August 31st.
You're saying that because it was an outdoor concert and the weather would be appropriate for an outdoor.
Correct.
Okay. Well, your window's pretty wide, but you are correct. It was sometime between May and August 31st. I am reading right now August 17th, which was the Sunday. Originally I was going to do Woodstock for 3 straight days because it was a weekend-long concert, but I just decided that was a little bit too much, so I condensed it all down to the Sunday, which was August 17th. But the irony is, the concert didn't end on that Sunday because there were so many delays because of weather and everything else.
The rain and everything.
I mean, there's a number of iconic performances, but Jimi Hendrix playing an instrumental version of the national anthem is one of the most iconic. That was Sunday morning, August 18th, because there were so many. He was supposed to.
Monday morning?
Monday morning. That's what I meant. Sorry. Right. He was supposed to close the show Sunday night, but he didn't go on until Monday morning.
Wow.
And it's estimated that even though there were 500,000 people there, only about 50,000 were left to hear that performance. That's the stuff I've read. Yeah. Matter of fact, I just was working with a photographer 2 weeks ago, and she told me she was at Woodstock. And I was like, Rini, I can't believe I never knew that about you. She was at Woodstock for that weekend.
That's
incredible.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yep.
So yes, I'm in mid-August right now.
So you're on the 8th month. I mean, you're getting it done. I mean, you know, it's a
goal is by September. I think the way I'm going, and P.S. This is only phase one.
I know you told me that.
I'm recording all of these, and then I have to go back and edit them because I can't read these all without stumbling and tripping over a word and going back. And so now I have to take all these into an editor. It's an endless freaking project.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mike. And I was thinking about this on the way in for some reason. I don't know why I'm thinking about you recording your book, but why not just fix it as you're doing it? In other words,
it's a much quicker process. Read it, just get through reading it, and then go back and edit it later.
But do you have like a legal pad where you'll mark down like,
no, I just go back and I make so many mistakes that it's not worth marking, because then I just listen to each one. I've already started that process, but I've only edited like through Valentine's Day, so that process is going to be endless. What I basically need with that process is I'm going to pull a couple of all-nighters because I edit it at the office. So I'll just have to pull a couple of all-nighters and just get it done.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And you said you don't think you'll have it ready for the holidays?
I don't know if I will. The printed version and Kindle will definitely. It's just a matter of me hitting print right now on the printed version. Yeah. But the audio version, I'm hustling to try to get it done by December, but I don't know if I will or not.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Well, everybody stay tuned for that. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
That's not what the episode is about today, though, folks. I know that you all tune in here for DJ business assistance and help. And I know you're probably sick of us talking about DJ Event Planner, but this episode does have something to do with this, but not really. In other words, if you use 17 Hats or Honeybook or DJ Intelligence, or if you're even still one of the people that are, doing it old school and God forbid faxing stuff to people, or you are emailing like a Excel spreadsheet to a client, this is all going to help you because our friend Travis Englehart, he actually is a listener of the show, and he every once in a while chimes in on things he wants us to talk about, Mike. He wants us to talk today about some things that we have on our DJ Event planners, the ones that the clients see.
Sorry, if you're watching on video, Shay apparently really wants to get on camera.
He's literally being attacked.
I can multitask here.
Yeah, but anyway,
the microphone. I love you, buddy. Yeah.
But anyway, today we're going to talk about, Mike, some of the things that we have on our planners for the ones that our clients fill out online. And
okay.
You and I both utilize that factor, I think, to its fullest.
Yeah, we do. What's funny? The other day, a client was asking me a question about filling something out on the planner, and I had to log in. You can log in as a client,
correct,
and see what they see. And it was the first time I had done it, I think, since we hooked up with Troy.
Yeah.
So it's something, if you are a DJ Event Planner user, it's something I suggest you do on a fairly regular basis, just so you can be familiar with what the client experience is on their end, because it looks completely different, and it allowed me to kind of walk them through filling out their planner and stuff like that. But I was glad you were making this your topic this week, because I wanted to just start that out with that, with that little pointer to do that from time to time. But so what do you mean as far as what fields we have on there?
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, as I do when I do, we call it advancing the show. What y'all call it? What, the final planning meeting or final?
We usually, we don't really have a formal name for it. Internally, we call it the review.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we don't have a fancy name. I know some companies are like the imagination session or whatever. I don't get that trippy with my names, Yeah. So.
I do. No, we just call it advancing the show. So when we advance the show, usually on a phone call, these are the things that we go over, and I'll kind of just give you a overview, Mike. And I always start the phone call, especially if they've booked us for the ceremony, which is probably hundreds a year now, Mike, that we do the ceremony for. So we have really three separate planners that you could potentially fill out. So if you book us for the ceremony, you are able to access a ceremony-only planner. Then there's the full reception planner, and then there's a photo booth planner.
And so in DJ Event Planner, you can assign specific planners per party. So
Correct.
is that what you do? So if a client only books you for reception, you only assign the reception planner.
Correct.
If they book you for ceremony and reception, you and then if they add photo booth, you add that third one. Yeah. Correct. So we're the same way. So I know we fumble that every once in a while. Like maybe a client will add a photo booth and we'll forget to assign it. So you have to kind of stay on top of that. But we have the same thing. And then we also have separate planners for same-sex weddings.
Same.
And then we also have separate planners for sweet 16s, holiday parties, that type of thing.
Same.
So you're obviously asking different questions.
Yep. We ask different questions. I mean, I think that, what Travis is kind of hinting at wanting to hear about, and you and I, and hopefully I can pick up a couple things from you that are on your planner, and you can pick up a couple things that are on mine. But I'll just kind of walk you, and the ceremony planner is really short, guys. I mean, here are just some of the kind of questions on there. Obviously the start time, the officiant's name, and then is it inside or outside? So
just to go along with you, we also ask for the officiant's contact information.
Nice.
Because when I can, I like to contact the officiant beforehand, find out what kind of microphone they would prefer. And also the main thing is to find out what that last thing is for me to start the recessional. I can obviously get that piece of information at the event, but it's just easier to know that in advance. That's all. So besides officiant name, and also a lot of times now you're seeing the officiant is like a friend of the bride and groom. And having done some ceremonies now, I tell the bride and groom, if your friend who may or may not ever have done a ceremony wants some information, wants some advice or whatever, feel free to have them contact me.
That's very cool. The if you're watching on camera, you see me like sometimes I reach like I grab my I grab a Post-it and start taking
Sometimes
notes.
I think this podcast is simply for Joe's edification.
100%.
Like Joe's just looking to, and he's just letting us eavesdrop on my counseling Joe Bunn. I really think that's the main thing.
I've saved so much money not paying you to consult. I'm just over here just taking mad notes.
There you go. I'm getting hosed here, aren't I?
So then it says, is it inside or outside? If outside, is the DJ under a covered area? And then it's just a check yes or no. And then I have mic, should there be a second lapel mic? And then in DJ Event Planner, beside that, you can actually create like a little link, almost like a side question. So if they're like, I don't understand this question, they can click and it says, the only reason that there's usually two lapel mics is if you wrote vows to each other and the groom needs to wear a mic.
Oh, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in other words, you
do learn something every once in a while.
I learned something.
I'll show.
So in other words, because you see that a lot of times on the internet where it just says like, what is this?
Yeah, like a little question mark. Right.
Yeah, and that's a great, all right, that's a very good idea.
I'll show you how to do that.
Very cool.
I'll send you this. And then is there a reader or a singer? And then it goes into the music. What type of music do you want for the prelude, the seating of the parents and grandparents song, the groomsman song, bridesmaid song, of course, the processional. And then is there any music during the ceremony? And then will any of these take place? And it's a checkbox. Unity candle, blending of sand, remembrance, communion, or other.
So go back to processional. We also ask who will be the last person down the aisle before the bride. So that gives us the indication when to start Here Comes the Bride. Now a lot of times the wedding planner or the maitre d' will also point that out to us, but do you need to go out? Joe, say something for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let Shay out.
Okay. But anyway, about the processional and the recessional, obviously those two are the main.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying about the processional and the recessional. Really, obviously, musically are the two most important things. And I think one of my biggest questions is when I advance the call is, if they put Canon in D for the processional, there are literally 6,000 versions probably.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 20 on my hard drive that I commonly use. So when I meet with the client, and the same thing goes with Here Comes the Bride and the Wedding March and all those other common songs, then you first of all, I usually ask them, what type of version do you want? Do you want a very simple string quartet? Do you want a church organ type of sound? I have steel drum versions of all those. So for a lot of the beach weddings I throw that out as a suggestion. So yeah, I mean, besides getting the song, getting the version that they want is important as well.
It's so critical, guys.
Right. But to me, that's not a planner thing. That's a one-on-one thing.
Totally.
That's a, in person or even over the phone. Sometimes I'll just sit there and play it and they'll go, oh yeah, we like that version.
Yeah. That's just, that was my sidebar while you were opening the door.
Good. Thank you.
And then there's just a comment box on the bottom. So for example, my wedding last weekend, she wrote, Mike, stand for the reader, please, which of course she had checked reader. So I would have already brought that. And then it says, for the recessional, started at the first chorus. It says, it looks like around the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, so different notes like that. Yeah.
Anything else, Mike, on the ceremony planner that you guys have that you think is important?
I think we covered everything. Like I said, the recessional, starting the recessional, like what is the last thing the officiant says?
Yeah, I
don't think that's something to put on the planner, though, because I don't know that the bride would know that. That's a question for the officiant.
Yep.
So either you need to get that in advance, which I'm sure everybody does, but I like to contact the officiant in advance just to get that. And I'm also, a lot of times I hear from the officiant, oh my God, you're calling me in advance. That's so professional. That's so nice of you. Whereas I guess not a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, I definitely like that idea a lot, Mike, because I think Saturday it was Barbara Lodge. She does a million weddings down here, and right before everybody kind of walked in, when I was putting her lavalier mic on, I just said, "Hey Barbara, what's the last thing?" And she said, "I'm going to let them kiss, and then I'm going to say Mr. and Mrs. Mike Davis, and then you fire off the song." So but I like Mike's idea of trying to reach out. And
all right, you go. I got to let Shay back in.
Okay, all right. So moving over now to what I call the reception planner, and this planner, to be honest with you guys, is probably our planner. Mike, I was saying the reception planner is probably a little bit long. If we print it out, and some of my guys do still actually print it out and have a clipboard and everything, I actually condense it down to about a page and a half on an iPad, not the biggest one of the smaller iPads. So if you look at it, in terms of being a client, it's a little bit intimidating, and I do tell them that right at the very beginning. So a year ahead of their wedding, when we do the initial consultation, I'll show them how it works basically, and I'll say, listen, you're not going to do a good job filling this out now. Again, this is 12 months in advance.
Right.
But next summer, this will be super easy because you can either use the BEO, the banquet event order from your venue, or if you have a day of planner, this will be really easy to fill out. And to be honest with you, I've kind of given a lot of people an out if they do have what we consider to be a professional wedding planner. I don't really want them to have to replicate this. Are you kind of the same, Mike?
Yeah, exactly.
But you rarely have a planner, though, right?
You and I have talked about this before. Yeah. I don't need my clients to fill out the DJ event planner. And I tell them that. If you'd prefer to just go over everything in person, I'm great with that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you make it almost sort of mandatory, not pretty like much dickishly, but you're pretty much like, you need to fill this out so that we have your information. To me, maybe it's just an age difference or whatever, but if my client wants to meet with me in person, I remember the day when I used to have my reviews where I knew nothing that the client wanted specifically, and I just sat there with a pen and paper and wrote everything down. I have no problem still doing that.
Yeah.
If that's what the client would prefer. So our communication with our client is, here's the planner. It's for you. If it's to help you, but if you don't have time to use it or don't want to use it, then we'll just go over everything in person.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of have ours broken down into a few different sections. The top, Mike, is basically just the general information. Again, where it is, the times, the bride's name and the groom's name, the number of guests, and then the reception venue contact and their email and phone number. And then the next section is the other wedding professionals that are working this event. So I have the wedding planner's name and contact info, the photographer, videographer, florist, and then I wrote other if they want to,
we ask those questions too. Right.
Recently,
I don't think I have florist on there. I don't know why you would need florist.
I think recently, Mike, I changed it, and I actually changed it instead of the company name to give me their Instagram handle instead. So when I tag pictures, I can
there you go.
Everybody.
That's a great idea then. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Then it says your official wedding hashtag, which I'm assuming, Mike, is still a big thing up there. Most people are are
Yes.
hashtagging their wedding.
Yeah.
And then your their handles, if they're okay with us, on Instagram. So the bride and groom or bride and bride's Instagram handles. And then I actually have a question that says, may we friend you on Facebook? And she wrote, we already are, So, and then it goes to the next section, which is cocktail.
That's an interesting question. So how often do you get no to that?
I don't think I've ever gotten no. I don't know why we started asking, to be honest.
And when you say friend, do you do that personally through your Joe Bunn, or do you do it through your company?
Through Joe Bunn. Because
you personally want to connect with, and now is that with every Bunn DJ bride or just your personal?
Everybody gets this planner, and all the DJs obviously have access to their clients' planners. Now, if they choose to do this Facebook friending or not is a different story. I mean, I knock on wood, out of these 15 guys that I run out of this office, have always been very impressed with how non-political, non-religious, non-race, that they're very PC.
In other words, non-Mike
It's
Walter.
not Mike Walter. It's basically I'm trying to get at.
But so maybe I need to answer the question better. So if this is a wedding that your guy Randy is doing,
right?
Does Joe Bunn friend this bride? If she says yes to that, Randy does.
No, Randy does.
So Randy then, okay.
And he is really, really good at this. Like he's really, again, dialed in. Once it gets to the wedding time, he has seen, all this 12 months of build up and their trip to Italy over the summer, and their dog passed away. Like he's really dialed in with them. Right.
Cool.
And then it goes to cocktail. Where's the cocktail hour taking place? If it's in a pre-function area, and then the type of music, and then it goes into the introductions. Yes or no, should we introduce the grandparents? And then again, a box for the grandparents of the bride name, grandparents of the groom. And again, this says different things if it's a same-sex wedding, so nobody freak out. We've got different planners for different types of events. The wedding party introduction song, the parents of the bride, parents of the groom. Would you like us to introduce the ushers? Would you like us to introduce the flower girl and ring bearer? And then more spaces for the bridesmaids and groomsmen, space for the matron of honor or maid of honor and best man, and then the bride and groom. And if they have a different song, there's a box for that. And then it goes to the first dance. What time is the first dance? So that way we can see if they're going to come in and go right into it. And then what's your first dance song? And then we have a question right under that, Mike. It says, is your first dance choreographed? Because my typical thing is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Mike Smith, everybody's clapping, and it's pretty much as soon as they hit the dance floor, I'm firing off the song.
Right, but if it's choreographed, you need to.
I need that I'm set in this corner of the dance floor where we did our Arthur Murray, practice for the last 2 months. And so anyway, it's a good question.
I can tell already just from you going through all that that you have more questions on your planner than I do.
Probably too many.
And I don't, I was going to say, I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to that, but there's a lot of these things I would rather discuss with the client.
I get that.
Than have them answer. One of my biggest challenges is when I meet with somebody face to face and they've already filled out everything on my planner. And I'm like, so other than going through pronunciations of the bridal party names, and if they're all Smith and Jones, even that's a little redundant. Why are you here? So I still prefer leaving some things to me questioning them or finding out in person. But I also can see the thoroughness of your planner. You're not going to forget to ask any of these questions because they're on your planner. And if there's a dispute after the fact, which I don't think I've ever had, but if I do something wrong that I asked in person and they say, well, that's not the way I answered it, you have it on the planner. Well, you checked off here, so it had. So I do think the thoroughness can be a good thing, but I also think sometimes it might seem daunting to a client. I think client sometimes when they look at pages and pages and pages of questions, and they might be like, God damn, do we really have to answer every single one of these? So I don't know. To me, it's a balancing act,
Man, I agree. Listen, that's kind of what I wrote down on here was like, can we lose some of this stuff? But I think a
Well,
lot.
let me ask you this: Are any of these questions mandatory? So if they leave it blank, can they? Okay, well, at least that's good. At least it's not like a form on the internet
where you can't get past
exactly.
it.
You can't get past it because you left something blank.
No,
Those can be maddening. So if they just go, well, I don't know if it's choreographed or not. I don't even know what that means. They can just leave that blank.
Totally.
Okay.
And they're still going to speak to us in person to go over this anyway.
Right. Okay.
And I will say this, Mike. A lot of it goes back to exactly what you said. I don't want to forget anything, and it's kind of the reason we do that keynote or PowerPoint presentation when we do the consult. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like there's not too much information, but there's enough information in there for people that have never hired a DJ to where myself or my guys, I don't want them to forget to mention this or to show this.
Right.
After the first dance, there's a parent dance section. You know, what's the song?
All right, so you don't ask if the bridal party is joining in the first dance?
I don't, but
that's a question we ask because that's a common thing. And again, a lot of times it's left blank, and we'll explain the advantage and the disadvantage.
Yep.
You know, if a bride and groom are shy and they don't like to be the center of attention, then we advise them, get the bridal party out as quickly as possible.
Same.
I can basically do it 1 minute into the song if they prefer. You just need enough time for the photographer to take a picture or two, and then get the bridal party around you.
I do,
but if
like
they're
that.
not shy, and especially if it's a shorter song, then just dance the whole
roll
first.
with it.
So,
I do need to add, Mike, and I actually need to add it to all three of these sections. The first dance, father, daughter, mother, son. Should we shorten the song or something along that lines, or what? Is this song going to be shortened? Because I'll be honest with you, I bet that 80% of my weddings, not necessarily the first dance, but maybe 90% shorten the parent dances.
Yeah, parents dances, yes. The first dance, I very rarely,
It's
unless
rare.
somebody, I don't even ask the question.
Yeah, me
unless
neither.
a client asks me, hey, can we shorten that? I say, sure. To me, a wedding song is sacrosanct, and I don't like to shorten that. But yeah, parents dances, knock it down to 1:45, 2 minutes tops.
Yep.
That's the best way to do it. I don't even know
But
that
you
I
ask,
asked that
right?
question. I
You
don't even know if
actually
I
do it?
do. I think like My Wish by Rascal
Sure.
Flatts, I have a smoothly edited version. I play that version. No bride is going to sit there and go, oh, this was short. She's going to be relieved that moment is concise.
I think, I mean, I definitely do it, but I usually ask.
And so what percentage of your brides say yes?
Oh, 80-90% at this point.
Well, I guess that's one of the reasons why I don't ask. 'Cause I
Right.
figured 90% will.
Right.
So, and the 10% ain't going to notice.
Right. I mean, it's definitely becoming quite the trend to shorten those.
The only time I have the conversation is, and it's rare nowadays, but with Butterfly Kisses.
Yeah.
Because Butterfly Kisses it's a 3-stage song.
That's correct.
And the middle verse is about the Sweet 16. So my advice to clients, we made an edited version years ago
Me
when
too.
the song first came out, which eliminates the Sweet 16, knocks it down to about 3:20.
Yep.
This way you get the infant and the wedding verse.
Yes.
And I bring that up. And again, just like you said, 90% of the clients say, oh, yeah, well, of course. But I do, because we're actually taking a chunk out of the song. I mean, maybe that Sweet 16 verse is important to them. I want to ask them if they want that left in or not.
We did. We made that same edit.
Yeah.
Next section goes into dinner. Will there be a welcome before dinner? If so, who's doing it? How about a blessing? Who's doing it? How will the dinner be served? So in other words, we have a lot of buffets and stations here, and then even family style dinners, and then or is it just a seated, like a served dinner?
So to me, that's a question that if you're looking to streamline your planner, why do you need to know that? What's affected in advance by you showing up and knowing that it's a buffet and not a served meal? Anything at all?
Probably just one extra announcement, ladies and gentlemen. Our food
right, but isn't that something you could find out when you're? I mean, that's not a question I ask.
True.
And maybe because the majority of our weddings are sit-down meals, I rarely see a buffet at a wedding. But if I show up and I go, oh, it's a buffet and not a sit-down, it's not like, oh, shoot, I didn't bring this piece of equipment that's going to – So to me, that's a internal – I'll find that out from
You're not in charge of the sterno, is what you're saying.
Right, exactly. Right. I didn't have to bring the sterno. Well done. So if you're looking to streamline and ask a few fewer questions, I think that's one that could be eliminated, and and your DJs are sharp enough that they could handle in the moment finding out if it's a buffet or a sit-down meal.
Writing that down. Thank you. Then it goes into the toasts. And I actually asked, which are you doing first, the cake cutting or toasts? Again, that could probably be eliminated.
Well, and again, that's a regional thing. In our market, we never do cake cutting before toast. Toasts are up front. Wow. Cake is later in the night. So we wouldn't even ask that question.
Gotcha.
To me, the main question is cake cutting, are you doing it? Bouquet toss, are you doing it? And more, we're saying no.
Same.
The cake cutting so often nowadays is off to the side. Mm-hmm. We'll have the photographer take a picture, but we don't want to interrupt the dancing.
Announcing it. Mm-hmm.
And bouquet and garter just are going away, which is great. No one misses it.
Yeah. Then I have the cake cutting. What's the song? Obviously, bouquet and garter, and the song choices. And then I have a little section that says the music. So obviously, it could say open dancing here. It says anniversary dance, and then I have that little question mark thing because a lot of people don't know what that is. So, and then the anniversary dance song. And again, yes or no. Any other special dances? Yes or no. Are you okay with line dances? And then I put in parentheses, cha-cha slide, Cupid shuffle, etc. Yes or no. And then is the DJ allowed to take requests? Yes or no.
Okay.
Do you ask those things or do you care?
I ask about audience participation face to face. We ask if there's, our planner, you can select songs 3 ways: must play, play if possible, and do not play.
Same.
So I figure if they don't want line dances, they're going to list them in the do not play section. They're going to put it there.
Good point.
But even if they don't ask for them and they don't put them in the no play, when I meet with them face to face, I do approach that conversation. Is there anything you don't want to hear? No. Okay, so if I get a request for a line dance, are you cool with it? And that's when every once in a while I'll get a client say, oh, no, we don't want that. Okay, great. Well, and I'm thinking, well, you should have put it down then. But then I'll mark down no audience. But yeah, I mean, most clients, if they haven't put it in the do not play section, they kind of have if you want to, if you get a request for it, then do it. Right. And to me, that green lights. So then I put down audience is okay. I'll make that note for myself. Here. And be honest with you, I will rely on those songs if I need to, even if I haven't gotten a request. So if I'm struggling to get people dancing, I'm not going to wait for a request for Cupid Shuffle. I'll use it as a spark plug.
Same. Do you ever do the thing, Mike, where you're like, you need it, and it's authorized but not chosen, and you'll kind of get on the mic and be like, all right, just had a request for the Cupid Shuffle. Let's see you guys shuffle.
Yeah, I'm sure I've lied about getting a request before. Yes, I'm sure I'm guilty of that.
Me
too.
Those
are the white lies that you tell in life that aren't that big a deal.
All right, last section here, and we'll wrap this thing up. Last dance, and then how does the party end? Sparklers, bubbles, doves, whatever.
See, I don't ask that, and that's probably something I should add, because every once in a while I am thrown with 10 minutes left in the night, and the photographer's telling me, hey, can you get everybody outside for sparklers? So that's probably something I should find out. So I think that's one I'll add after this. And last dance is one that we have on our planner, but I'd say more than 50% of the time clients leave it blank, and I'm great with that. I would rather it be left to let's see what's working, let's see where I am at the end of the night, let me make the call in the moment rather than it being a fixed thing.
Agreed, especially if it's not a great song.
Do you ask Honeymoon Location?
No, I do like that.
Yeah, see, that's something I either put it on your planner or have it somewhere so you never forget. Yep. I know I've talked about it. I mentioned it on my Keys DVD. I think knowing where the couple are going on their honeymoon is important, because I often use that as a shout out at the very end of the night. Hey, they're going to blah, blah, blah. They're going to Mexico. They're going to Hawaii. They're going to Aruba. Let's send them off with some love. I like that. But then also for wedding wire review purposes, if you find out they're not going on a honeymoon, it kind of gives you permission to request that review sooner rather than later.
Ooh, I like it.
So there's multiple reasons to ask the honeymoon question.
Write that one down, people. Write that one down.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, anything else you want to add before we put a bow on this thing?
No, I think this is good. And once again, Troy does not need to be a sponsor because we sit here on a regular basis and talk lovingly about his product.
That's
and
true.
I mean that half jokingly, but also seriously. I love DJ Event Planner. It's made a huge difference in my life and my DJ's lives. Everybody loves the product. So if you're on the fence, if you aren't using it, I encourage our listeners to sign up for a free trial run and test the product out because I'm sure you'll love it.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We will, God willing, with the hurricane coming, we'll be back next week.
It's funny. Kelly has a client. Kelly's taking care of the elderly, and she has a client that always, when she leaves in the morning, she says, "I'll see you tomorrow, Ange." And he goes, God willing, and the creek don't rise. God willing, and the creek don't rise.
That's exactly how I feel right now.
Yes, we're joking about it, but in all seriousness, to everybody in the path of Florence, I hope it peters out somehow or misses you and isn't as bad as they're hyping it up, and that you're here next week to hear us.
I'll be here, brother. I'll be here.
Amen. All right,
Thanks for listening, guys.
Have a great week.
Peace.